The London fried chicken market is a lawless frontier. There are over 8,000 chicken shops in the city, a density that rivals the number of pubs in some boroughs. In this chaotic marketplace, businesses usually fight for dominance by lowering prices or inventing wild new menu items. But one brand is different. Morley's became so powerful and so culturally significant to a specific part of London that its rivals stopped trying to compete with the food and started stealing its identity instead. There are shops called Metros, Monleys, and even a shop that just flipped the R to a W and called itself Mowley's, hoping that at 2 a.m. after a few pints, you wouldn't notice the difference. This phenomenon creates a massive business paradox. Morley's is not a global conglomerate. For 30 years, it refused to even cross the river into North London. It spent almost nothing on traditional advertising, and yet it became a cultural icon so potent that Stormzy filmed his music videos there, major fashion brands tried to collaborate with it, and high-end hotels hosted pop-ups serving its drumsticks topped with caviar. The story of Morley's is about geography, identity, and the fiercest legal war ever fought over a deep fryer. London's relationship with fried chicken is unique in Europe. While other cities run on kebabs or currywurst, London runs on wings. In some boroughs, the density of chicken shops is so high that the air permanently smells of oil and secret spice blends. In this environment, standing out should be impossible. The barrier to entry is incredibly low. You buy a pressure fryer, you rent a shop, you order frozen chicken, and you pick a name. But in 1985, a man named Kanalingam Selvendran decided to do something different. Known to his friends as Indran, he was a Tamil immigrant from Sri Lanka who had settled in London. He looked at the market and saw that everyone was racing to the bottom, trying to be the cheapest generic option. Indran didn't want to be generic. He wanted to build a brand, and so he opened the very first Morley's in Sydenham, deep in South London. 1985 was an era before the internet, before viral marketing, and before foodie culture took over the capital. If you wanted to build a reputation, you had to do it physically, customer by customer. Indran made a few strategic decisions that would define the company for the next 4 decades. First, he developed his own breading recipe when most shops just bought the standard spicy coating from a wholesaler. Indran's blend was hotter, redder, and more aggressive than the bland output of the major chains. Second, he chose the branding. That red and white logo looked weirdly classic, almost like a 1950s diner sign, even though it was brand new. This visual identity would eventually become the most valuable asset the company owned, and the primary target for the army of clones that would follow. Most businesses, when they find a winning formula, try to expand everywhere immediately. If you have a hit shop in Sydenham, logic dictates you open the next one in Camden, then Westminster, then continue until you cover the map. But Morley's did the exact opposite. For decades, they adhered to a strict geographical containment strategy. They only opened in South London. This decision accidentally created one of the most powerful psychological drivers in marketing: scarcity and tribalism. The River Thames acts as a massive physical and psychological barrier in London. The tube network is extensive in the north, but historically sparse in the south. This disconnected the south from the rest of the city, creating a distinct insular culture. Because Morley's refused to go north, it became the exclusive property of South Londoners. This geographical lock-in meant that eating Morley's was a demographic marker. This is the same psychological mechanism that powers cult streetwear brands like Supreme. By limiting availability, you increase desire. Kids in North London would hear rumors about this legendary chicken shop that their cousins in Lewisham talked about, but they couldn't get it. The company expanded slowly, opening franchises in places like Brixton, Peckham, and Croydon. They targeted areas that other chains ignored. While Starbucks and Pret fought over the wealthy high streets of Kensington, Morley set up shop in working-class neighborhoods, looking for the after-school crowd and the late-night wanderers. Indran understood his audience instinctively. He encouraged his franchisees to treat the customers like family. Morley's shops were bright, warm, and open late. Kids would go there after school to wait for their parents, to do homework, or just to stay out of the rain. The staff knew the regulars. If a kid didn't have enough money for a full meal, sometimes an extra wing would slide into the box. As the decades passed, the generation that grew up hanging out in Morley's started to shape the culture of the UK. The rise of grime and UK rap is inextricably linked to the chicken shop. These genres were born in the very same South London estates where Morley's had planted its flag. When artists like Stormzy and Novelist started making music, they didn't rap about drinking champagne in Mayfair clubs, because that wasn't their reality. They rapped about their actual lives, and their lives happened in Morley's. Stormzy's video for Big For Your Boots, the lead single for his debut album, has him standing in a Morley's. This cultural cosign is something that money can't buy. KFC tries desperately to be cool on Twitter. They hire meme consultants and run edgy ad campaigns. Morley's achieved infinitely more relevance just by existing. Success, however, attracts parasites. As the Morley's brand value skyrocketed, the copycats moved in. The most notorious case in this chicken shop war was the battle against a chain called Mowley's. You have to admire the audacity. A rival business owner looked at the success of Morley's and decided the best way to compete was to change a single letter. They used the same red background, the same white cursive font, and the same menu structure. They even opened shops in the same neighborhoods. When Morley's legal team sent a cease and desist letter, the copycat simply changed the name to Metros. But they kept everything else. They argued that Metros was a totally different word from Morley's, so there could be no confusion. This led to a landmark high court battle. Metro's defense was incredibly cheeky. They argued that all chicken shops look the same. They claimed that red and white were just the industry standard colors for fried chicken, like green is for pharmacies. They brought in evidence of other shops like Munley's and Mengley's to prove that ripping off Morley's was just how the market worked. The court didn't buy it. In a resounding victory for the original, the judge ruled that Morley's had generated distinct goodwill and reputation in its branding. The red and white cursive M was a specific identifier of the Morley's brand. Metros was found liable for trademark infringement. They were forced to strip their signage and pay damages. The survival of Morley's during the last 10 years is perhaps its most impressive feat. London has undergone hyper-gentrification. Entire neighborhoods have been transformed. Council estates have been demolished to make way for glass towers. Traditional working-class businesses like the Greasy Spoons, the old pubs, and the hardware shops have been wiped out by rising rents and changing demographics. Yet, Morley's expanded. That's because its business model is gentrification-proof. It operates on a high-volume, low-margin basis that allows it to pay the rent even when costs rise, provided the foot traffic remains. And the foot traffic always remains. The genius of Indran Selvendran's original vision was that he created something that transcends class barriers. You have the original working class community who've been eating there for 30 years, the students who need cheap calories, the clubbers stumbling out of venues, and now, ironically, you have the gentrifiers themselves. The new wave of middle-class Londoners view Morley's with a sense of ironic curiosity that eventually morphs into genuine affection. As we look at Morley's today, we have to go back to the man who started it all. Indran Selvendran didn't have a business degree, nor did he have venture capital funding. He was an immigrant who saw a gap in the market and filled it with seasoning and hard work. The copycats like Metros and Monleys will always exist. They'll try to follow in the slipstream of the giant, but they will always fail to capture the magic because they're copying the sign and not the soul. They can replicate the font, but they can't replicate the 30 years of after-school gossip, the music videos, and the feeling of belonging that comes with that specific red box. But what do you reckon? Now that Morley's has finally crossed the river, has it lost its soul, or was it about time the North got a taste of the real deal? Drop your thoughts in the comments section below. Let's get the postcode wars going. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the capital's grease-stained history, give us a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and don't forget to ring that bell so you don't miss out on the next video. Cheers for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.